A man brings a dead alien creature home from a crashed UFO. A frozen alien body is found in the Siberian snow. A humanoid creature is found lurking in a man's backyard, and more. These are mysterious beings not from Earth, caught on camera. In October 1996, a man named Jonathan Reed, who described himself as a psychologist, was out walking with his golden retriever in Seattle, Washington. He was heading toward a wooded area near the edge of town when things took a weird turn. His dog suddenly reacted to something in the trees and ran straight into the forest. Reed followed it in. He said he reached a clearing, and that's when he saw his dog barking and attacking something standing there, a small, humanoid figure about the size of a 12-year-old child. According to Reed, it was wearing a tight, seamless black suit and had a strange, unstable, quote, vibrating look to its movement. Reed claimed the figure suddenly attacked his dog, tearing it apart. After his dog was dead, it turned to white ash, and that's when the creature turned toward him. Reed grabbed a large stick and struck it in the head with full force. The figure went down and stopped moving. Right after that, Reed reported hearing a low humming sound nearby. He followed it deeper into the woods and came across a black object hovering just above the ground. He had a small camera with him and managed to capture it. After approaching the object, the humming stopped and everything went silent. Reed then returned to where the creature had been. He decided to take the body with him. He wrapped it and brought it back to his home, placing it in the freezer. The next day, he filmed the creature inside his house. He was operating on it. Footage which has since become infamous in UFO and alien forums, by the way. Shortly after the incident, though, Reed said he noticed these white vans outside his home with people watching him. And then, according to him, he came home one day to find his house had been searched and the alien creature gone. He later said that he was followed, threatened, and even shot at, which pushed him into staying silent for years. When he finally went public, he appeared on UFO radio shows and conferences and released parts of his story along with the footage and images. Now, to say this account is far-fetched would obviously be an understatement. People were highly skeptical, and some have pointed out things that didn't quite line up in his story, and it's convenient that there was never any physical evidence for anyone to properly test, but Reed never backed down. He's always stuck with his story. Back in April 2011, a video from Russia suddenly started spreading across the internet after it appeared to show the body of a dead extraterrestrial lying in the snow. The footage was filmed by two men who claimed they'd stumbled on the thing while walking through a wooded area. Laying near a tree stump was what looked like a small humanoid body. It had an oversized head, thin limbs, dark eyes, and part of one leg appeared to be missing. One of the men said, "We found him around 2 hours ago. Must have been lying here for days." According to the story that circulated with the footage, a dog had supposedly led them to the body. Interestingly, there had also been reports in the area at the time of unusual objects in the sky. Michael Cohen of All News Web wrote that people had witnessed a UFO crash that was, quote, deliberately kept from public view. He also asked the question, is the alien seen in this video a survivor of that crash who managed to leave the area only to die as a result of Russia's harsh conditions? Well, within days, millions of people had watched the video. Some were convinced that they were looking at genuine evidence of an alien being. Others said it was just a bunch of BS. The official story in the years since is that this was a hoax, but is it possible they were just trying to cover it up? What do you think? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. On December 1st, 1987, a retired police officer using the name Philip Spencer went out for a morning walk across Ilkley Moor in West Yorkshire, England. He had a camera with him and a compass in his pocket in case the fog rolled in, which apparently wasn't unusual for the area. While crossing the moor, Spencer said he noticed something ahead on the trail. First, it just looked like a small figure standing there. As he got closer, he described it as about 4 feet tall, dark green in color with an oversized head and long, thin arms. The creature lifted its arm in a gesture that he took as a warning to stay back, but instead of turning away, he pulled out his camera and took a photo. That image is the centerpiece of everything that followed, a blurry figure in the distance standing in the open moorland fog. Spencer said the creature then ran off and he chased after it. Spencer claimed that as he lost sight of the figure, he suddenly saw a craft rise up from the moor. He said it was whitish, made of two saucer-like sections that were joined together, one stacked on top of the other. He also reported this loud humming sound as it lifted into the sky and disappeared. After the encounter, he said he ended up walking in a different direction than he planned and eventually realized that something was off with the timing. He believed that he'd lost around 2 hours. Even his compass, which he brought specifically for navigation, was pointing the wrong way. Well, not long after, he reached out to UFO researchers Jenny Randles and Peter O, and the photograph started circulating. Experts were brought in to examine it. A wildlife photographer who looked at the image said it didn't match any known animal. Kodak lab staff reportedly said they found no evidence of tampering. At the same time, other experts like U.S. Navy optics specialist Bruce Maccabee said the image was just too grainy to make any firm conclusions. And then there's the part that makes the case even more strange. Spencer later agreed to undergo regressive hypnotherapy on March 16th, 1988. Under hypnosis, his account changed. Instead of just seeing the creature, he now described being paralyzed, lifted, and taken into a craft, where he said a voice told him to stay calm. Inside, he claimed he saw green beings performing medical procedures, including inserting objects into his nose and mouth. After these supposed memories flooded back, he reinterpreted the whole encounter. Maybe the creature hadn't been warning him to stay back. Maybe it was actually waving goodbye to him after he was returned to the moor. This next one takes us back to May 2007 out in Metepec, Mexico. A rancher named Mauro Lopez was checking out his barn when he found this tiny creature trapped in one of his animal traps. He panicked and ended up drowning the thing, and its body was eventually sold to a UFO researcher named Jaime Muzan. When you look at the photos of the carcass, it does look pretty freaky. It's small, skinny, and, well, alien looking, for lack of a better term. The story was a massive deal in the UFO encrypted community for years. People were excited, believing this could be a real alien or some other kind of undiscovered creature. Scientists eventually ran DNA and medical tests on the body, including MRI scans, to figure out what they were actually looking at. But as you can imagine, the internet has totally picked this thing apart over the years, and the whole mystery eventually unraveled. Turns out the DNA test showed the creature was 100% a regular animal. Specifically, it was a skinned squirrel monkey. The rancher's nephew later confessed that he'd taken the dead monkey, removed its fur and skin, and placed it in the trap as a prank. And it worked, because I mean, damn, does that thing look creepy. This photo was taken on September 22nd, 2004, over in Mexico, and the story behind it is pretty interesting. A security guard was doing his regular night shift inside an abandoned office building. Around 10:45 p.m., he was walking down a dark hallway when he spotted something standing in the shadows. First, he squinted. He thought it was maybe a kid who'd snuck in, but as he got closer, he realized this short humanoid figure didn't look human at all. He managed to grab his old Kodak digital camera and snap a single picture before the thing bolted. He chased after it down the hall, but it completely vanished into thin air. Now, the internet is flooded with photos and videos of weird lights in the sky. This is one of the rare times someone claims to have caught an actual alien creature on camera. The quality is kinda rough, which makes sense for, a basic consumer digital camera from the mid-2000s, but the creature in the shot does look undeniably alien. It could easily be a hoax, but there are also a good number of people who seem to find this pretty convincing. The photo has been floating around the web for over 2 decades. Ever since it first hit the internet, people have been arguing about whether the story is real. Definitely helps that Mexico is already a massive hotbed for UFO activity. Fun fact, Montana ranks in the top 5 for the most UFO sightings per capita. There's a specific area known as Redgate near a town called Deer Lodge that is a massive hotspot. A local guy named Donald Bromley said, "It's just very rich in the paranormal field, like the UFOs, lights in the sky, unexplainable things," end quote. But the reason we're talking about Redgate right now is because of a crazy image Donald caught on his trail camera back in 2021. It snapped a picture of this pale humanoid figure walking through the woods. When Donald first looked at the photo, he thought it was just maybe a regular guy, but the details kind of threw him off. He said, "The first one to think it was a person, but the more I looked at it, it was just odd. It was out of place, and everything just matches the alien persona. The bigger bulbous head. You could tell it has no clothes. It's kind of a transparent being," end quote. The whole area has this really heavy history. A filmmaker named Patrick Cutler, who'd researched the spot, said the name Redgate actually comes from a horrific local legend, saying, quote, "Basically there was a guy who had a farm or homestead and came home one day from work and basically unalived his entire family and painted their gate red with their BLOOD, end quote. Ever since then, the area's been a bit of a magnet for what researchers call high strangeness. Cutler mentioned that people driving around the area will see bizarre things fly across the sky, or their cars will just completely stall out for no reason, stuff like that. Finally though, we have a very bizarre piece of footage captured in India. Jharkhand, a group of bikers were riding down a dark road late at night and they noticed a strange figure walking along the side of the highway. The video quality is obviously kinda rough, but you could still clearly see the shape of this thing. The figure looks pale, incredibly thin, and it moves in this stiff, unnatural way. At one point, it turns its head toward the bikers. Its eyes seem to glow with this yellowish color in the dark. After the clip started spreading online, a lot of viewers began saying the figure looked almost alien-like. Nobody really knows what the bikers actually recorded that night, but whatever it was, it is not the kind of thing I'd ever want to run into in the middle of a desolate road at night. Around 2011, a YouTube channel called Ivan0135 uploaded a set of short clips with no explanation attached. The videos show this gray humanoid figure with a big head and dark eyes, your classic gray. In one clip, it's sitting at a table in what looks like some kind of control room. In another, it's standing and slowly moving around, mostly small head turns and slight shifts in its posture. Everything is black and white and really grainy, like old tape or degraded footage. No one's ever been able to confirm where the videos came from or who actually made them. There's also been a lot of technical breakdown, looking at the grain, the noise, and compression patterns in the footage, and some argue that the grain looks like real camera noise rather than something added on top. Now, real or not, it is pretty eerie stuff, but what do you think? Back in 2022, a man named Harry Hayes was out jogging in Sydney, Australia, after days of heavy rain had flooded parts of the street. He spotted something strange sitting on the road. It was small, fleshy looking. It looked like some kind of embryo. He pulled out his phone and started filming it while trying to figure out what he was looking at. He thought it looked like some kind of embryo, but also joked that with all the crazy stuff going on at the time, the wars, the global pandemic, he wouldn't be surprised if it was some sort of mutated creature or alien. He uploaded the clip to Instagram, where it quickly started spreading and pulling in all kinds of theories. Some people thought it could be a shark embryo washed up during the flooding. Others suggested a mutated tadpole, and some also went straight to the alien angle. Even people with biology backgrounds weren't so sure what it was, though. Zoologist Elisa shared the image and wrote, "Hey world, what is this thing? I thought possible glider, possum embryo, but I have no context or scale, and none of my peers can agree. What is this? Hashtag mystery blob." Now, this is one of the most infamous, supposedly real alien creature videos on the internet. It was recorded in Denver, Colorado by a man named Stan Romanek in 2003. He said he started noticing something outside his home at night. Someone or something was coming up to the window and looking in. Thinking it might be someone messing around or possible intruder, he set up a camera aimed at the window to catch it. What he ended up capturing was this pale, humanoid-looking figure peering into his window. It rises into view, lingers there for a moment, then drops out of sight. It comes back into frame a couple times. The video was later shown publicly in 2008 at an event organized by UFO researcher Jeff Peckman, where it was presented as possible evidence. And after that, it started spreading online and getting picked apart frame by frame. Romanek has insisted the footage is real, and just one incident that he managed to capture on camera amongst a whole bunch of odd experiences that he had around his home. Out in Dubina, a rural stretch of Fayette County, Texas, Michael Demmel has been running trail cameras on his property for years. They're set up all over the place to catch wildlife moving through at night. Coyotes, bobcats, raccoons, that kind of thing. He checks them every day, and after 10 years of doing it, he knows what normal looks like on those images. Well, one night a photo came through that kind of freaked him out. At first, Michael said he thought it might be a monkey. Already insane to see in the wild in Texas. The picture is blurry, but there is something definitely crouching there, about the size of a medium dog. But the shape is weird. It's super spindly, doesn't appear to have fur either. He showed the image around to his friends, and once it started spreading, people started throwing out ideas. Some said chupacabra, alien, or skinwalker. Michael said, "In the 10 years I've been reviewing my cameras, I've never encountered anything like it." Uploaded back in 2011 to a YouTube channel called Hola Bible, this clip comes from a guy in Oregon who says he started hearing strange noises coming from the forest behind his home. He points out that he's out in a pretty isolated spot, about 6 miles from the nearest city, so hearing stuff moving around there at night isn't exactly normal. He grabs a night vision camera and heads out to check it. First, it's just dark woods and brush, but as he moves deeper in, he eventually spots whatever's making the sound. Crouched down in the vegetation is this pale, hairless-looking figure. It doesn't really move like an animal you'd expect to see out there, and the shape of it is hard to place from the footage. He zooms in to get a closer look, trying to figure out what he's actually looking at. The camera shakes a bit as he focuses on it. The figure is still there in the brush, low to the ground, and then reacts. Scary stuff. What is it though? An alien creature, a rake, a naked man with glowing eyes, a hoax? Share your thoughts down below. This footage comes from the latest wave of UAP releases that have been all over the news recently. Back in February 2023, the US military scrambled a pair of F-16 fighter jets to check out a strange object flying 20,000 feet over Lake Huron, right along the border of Michigan and Canada. The government deemed it a hazard to civilian planes, and one of the jets fired a Sidewinder missile, blowing the thing completely out of the sky. For years, the public didn't get to see what actually happened up there. Thanks to the massive new batch of declassified government files, the Pentagon finally released the actual footage of the shootdown. The video is filmed in infrared and shows the fighter jet locking onto the object. When the missile hits, the Pentagon description says the object bursts apart in a radial displacement pattern, which is just a fancy way of saying the thing blew the hell up. At the time of the incident, officials described the target as an octagonal shape with strings dangling on. Looking at the newly released video, some experts say it looks a lot like a rogue weather balloon, but the audio recordings from the actual pilots inside the cockpit tells a different story. Right before the shootdown, you can hear one of the pilots say, "I wouldn't really call it a balloon, I don't know what. I can see it outside with my eyes." While the government recovered debris from the lake and claimed it wasn't a national security threat, the fact that they kept the footage locked away on a classified network for years does kinda say something. Alright, you want an alien being captured on camera? This is one of the clearest videos that you're gonna get. Clearly filmed at night, someone is hitting a patch of bushes with their flashlight, and it doesn't take long to realize why. Something is lurking in the brush. Bulbous head, big, pure black eyes. It looks like your classic gray. It stands there for a few moments staring out of the bushes before turning to the side and strolling further into the woods. Supposedly, this was recorded near the site of a UFO crash recovery operation. But as for where this was filmed or who was investigating, none of that info is available. Supposedly, this video was leaked by someone on the team investigating the crash, who chose not to be named. Yeah, it's pretty dubious, and it could definitely be a hoax, but this is some pretty clear footage, and you just don't get a lot of cryptid creature videos like this, let alone ones with aliens. So, if anything, I appreciate the boldness of it. What you're looking at here is footage of what would later be referred to as the Salford alien. Back in January 2015, a clip dropped on YouTube that got the local community in Salford, UK really talking. It was uploaded by a channel called Paratruthers, and the video shows this pale, incredibly thin figure with a massive, oversized head. I guess walking around? I don't know, it's moving really strangely. The channel that posted it described it as being way too tall and skinny to be a regular human, with skin that looked wet, almost like a snake. They also claimed it was a specific rare type of tall, white-gray alien that had never been spotted in the UK before. And to add a bit of extra drama to the whole thing, the account claimed they were actually shut down by the government shortly after, though they never specified which government did it. Naturally, the internet did what it always does, and people split into two camps. Some who live in the area were genuinely freaked out by this. One person said the head looked completely creepy, it moved all weird, and that everyone down at the local pub was talking about it. It's not the only weird thing to happen in that part of England. The area actually has a bit of a history of this stuff, with over 20 UFO sightings reported over the years, including one person who called the Ministry of Defense claiming they saw 17 spaceships filled with little green aliens. This next one was caught near a home in Moorhead, Kentucky back in 2022. So there's this pale, human-like figure creeping around the back garden of a house. The creature looks super lanky and hunched over, moving with a really weird, unnatural gait. The clip's been shared all over the place, news sites have talked about it, yada yada. So as you can imagine, people have picked it apart. One of the things a lot of people brought up is the lighting, with one person commenting, "The question I have is this infrared? Because the pale creature would actually be dark colored if it were a dude in a black suit, showing up white in that case." Another thing people noticed right away is that the camera isn't steady, with someone asking if this was taken with a security camera, why is the camera moving like someone is holding it? Security cams are fixed and don't float around. But a local paranormal research firm jumped into the replies and explained exactly why that is, writing, "To answer why the camera is moving, you can see the reflection of the person recording this footage from their phone in the glass of the monitor. As to what it is, a recording of a recording degrade the quality of the original footage. No way to know what we're seeing." This one is known as the Quebec frozen alien video. I'm surprised it doesn't get talked about more. So the story goes that in 1992, a group of snowmobilers discovered what appeared to be a small alien body in the snow near Riviere Rouge in Quebec, Canada. It was found in a wooded area close to a road. The men were cautious enough not to touch it. They used a stick and a wire to lift it up. When they came back the next day, the body was gone. They figured some kind of animal, maybe a coyote, had dragged it off. The person who originally filmed the photos, like filming them off a physical printout with a video camera, says a friend of a former roommate brought them to his apartment in Montreal that same year. He held on to the footage for over 15 years before doing anything with it, partly because a Quebec UFO researcher named Claude Macduff, who wrote several books on the subject, advised against going public. Macduff apparently told them it wasn't the first time he'd seen photos of this type of being, and that coming forward would just bring them unwanted attention. But in October 2008, the person finally uploaded it to YouTube under the title Real Alien Body in Quebec 1992. By January 2016, the original upload had over 430,000 views, with copies across the internet pushing it into the millions. One researcher from OVNI Quebec looked into it. A journalist from a local paper near Riviere Rouge reached out. The original YouTube account that posted it no longer exists though, and two of the earliest accounts to reshare it have also taken it down. The identity of the snowmobilers has never been confirmed either, and the case remains unsolved. The footage you're looking at here was taken in Brazil. It was 2011 when two tourists were exploring the Amazon near Manaus. Lurking in the trees behind these kids is something that looks a lot like an alien being. Small and gray with big black eyes and a large bulbous head. And the location makes it a bit weirder too. The Manaus region has a long history of UFO sightings, strange lights in the sky, unknown crafts. People have been reporting this stuff for years. Some people think aliens might be drawn to the area because of how insanely rich it is in plant and animal life, which is kind of an interesting take. I mean, imagine if we could travel to other planets. We'd probably want to study the places with the most biodiversity too. And there's also this. The Brazilian government ran a secret investigation in the late 70s called Operation Prato. Actually sent the army out to monitor the region after UFO reports started piling up. The whole thing was kept quiet for decades, but it was eventually declassified, and when it was, it confirmed the government had been actively investigating UFOs in that area. So sure, this video could be a hoax, but it's also possible something genuinely strange was captured on camera that day. In early 2024, a video out of Ilha do Mel, an island off the coast of southeast Brazil, started making the rounds on social media. It showed two tall humanoid figures standing on top of a hill, and people couldn't agree on what they were looking at. Locals were thrown off by a few things. For starters, the figures were estimated to be around 10 feet tall. See, the hilltop they were on is hard to get to, and the surrounding shrubs, which are dense enough in that area, barely come up to their knees. So here are some English translations of some of the things said in the video. It's too big to be a person. Look at the way it moves. It's really weird. Look at the size. And this isn't the only strange footage that's been captured on this island. This next video comes from the same place, only now we're focused on a figure coming down the hill rather than standing on top of it. The thing that stuck out to people most about this footage is how easily this figure is moving through the rugged terrain. According to commenters who've hiked in the area or just familiar with hiking in general, this thing seems to move way too smoothly. And thanks to some help from a Reddit user in the comments who translated some of the statements from the people behind the camera to English, these are some of the quotes. "Look, he's in the middle of the cliff. So camouflaged. It came down really quick. Look at its step, the size. It is really giant. Look at its tail." Now, I can't really make out a tail on camera, but maybe in person it was more clear. The footage isn't captured with the best quality phone, not awful either, but the thing is just so far away. I mean, people gotta start carrying high quality cameras with like zoom lenses when they're out in the wilderness, just in case of situations like this. You know, you could see Bigfoot, you could see an alien like this, I don't know. I'm only kinda joking. Carry zoom lenses, people.
Can you come out of the grass?
The footage you just saw there has been floating around the internet for a long time. It was recorded by a man named Alex Player in Australia back in 2010. He claimed to have captured footage of an alien creature in his backyard not once, but 4 separate times. Encounters were filmed on October 5th, October 24th, November 20th, and November 28th, using both a video camera and his mobile phone. Alex described what he saw the first time as the clearest encounter. It was not that tall, only as high as the grass, and a gray color with a big head. Didn't make a single sound, he said. Things escalated in early November when Alex claimed the creature actually entered his home. He and his mother sat together in his room while it, quote, moved through the house in 2 minutes. Then we heard a thud outside, like it was jumping off the veranda. Alex uploaded this footage to YouTube, got a lot of attention. The clip from the first October encounter was used in an independent documentary called Gone with the UFOs in 2011. See if you notice anything strange in this clip. Now let's slow things down and zoom in a bit. Some sort of alien-looking creature is lurking behind a headstone. The footage was allegedly filmed in 2005, but the video wasn't posted to YouTube until 2015. The person who recorded it claimed they hadn't actually noticed the creature until they watched the footage back years later. But no location, no name. Whoever filmed it remained anonymous. The video got reposted tons of times, and as you can imagine, reactions were all over the place. Some were pretty sure it was a hoax, but most people agreed that the footage was pretty creepy regardless, and there were also plenty of people who thought that it was genuine. Like one commenter who wrote, "I think this thing is demonic. I've heard of similar things being cited here in Oklahoma, and the Bible alludes to the demonic having an affinity with cemeteries." What are your thoughts on this video? Genuinely weird footage or a hoax? This is footage of the infamous Victor alien interview. This one gets talked about a lot amongst alien enthusiasts. I've talked about this clip on the channel before too, but the version you're looking at here is different from the one that I've shown before. This is the original format. It's brighter. You could see more of the creature. For those not in the know though, let me explain. The video's been floating around for decades now. It allegedly shows an interview taking place with an alien being at the S4 base near Area 51. It was supposedly leaked by a whistleblower who only ever identified himself as Victor. He made a copy of the top secret recording, and that footage ended up being featured in a 1997 documentary called Area 51, The Alien Interview, which also includes testimonies from people like Bob Lazar. Victor narrates over the footage throughout, though he never outright states that he worked at Area 51. Whether the footage is genuine or not, I don't know, but the story behind it is pretty interesting regardless. Victor's identity was also never confirmed. This video comes from 2015. Using his cell phone camera, a ranch owner in Nuevo Laredo was hearing strange noises in his backyard. He grabbed his phone and started filming. He stepped outside and he ended up capturing some pretty creepy footage.
Las láminas. Se estremece, voltea hacia el techo.
The strange sounds continued. Now it sounded like it was coming from the roof. So he quickly panned over and saw this.
Tira la cámara. Ahí. Vea usted. ¿Qué es eso?
Crouching on the roof was some kind of strange humanoid creature. It was agile, extremely thin, with unusually long arms and legs, and a small head. It looked like your classic pale crawler, rake, alien-like creature.
Hell no! Oh, hell no! What the is happening, bro? Hey, we out of this! We out of this! We out of this!
Alright, this is a crazy case. Thousands of witnesses, plenty of footage of people running away in a panic, but any security footage or personal recordings of the incident are nowhere to be found. Supposedly, they were confiscated, so the story goes. This is the very bizarre case of the Bayside Marketplace aliens. So on New Year's Day 2024, something happened at Bayside Marketplace in downtown Miami that still gets talked about today. Police were called out to the mall after reports of teenagers fighting and fireworks. Pretty standard New Year's chaos, but then witness accounts started coming in and it got pretty weird, really weird. Over 10 people claimed that they saw 3 massive humanoid figures walking out of a clothing store inside the mall, like 9 to 10 feet tall with long thin limbs and elongated torsos. They were also described as pure black, almost shadow-like. Others described them having a more reflective surface. There was a full-on panic with people rushing to get out of the mall, and the police response that night was massive. There are all these videos online of squad cars filling up the whole street, and people were like, really? I mean, some kids fighting warranted this response? Miami PD stuck to the disturbance explanation. They denied any evidence of aliens, but there were lots of witnesses who came forward describing the same basic thing. Whatever the case, it is definitely a weird story. This next clip comes from a trail cam in the Appalachian Mountains. It was posted by Elizabeth Maynard, 98, who caught something pretty unsettling moving across her property, and it was not just one, two. At first, when these things pass by the camera, it's really hard to tell what you're looking at, but you can clearly see that they're moving on all fours. They go out of frame, then loop back around and come into view again, and this time they're upright, walking on two legs. It looks almost human at that point, but still not quite. They're extremely thin, with glowing eyes and no visible hair. The closest comparison people keep making is something like a stereotypical alien. The movement is also really off, with these small, awkward steps. They're not really used to standing or walking like that. In the comments, people were throwing out all kinds of theories, from rakes, skinwalkers, wendigos, but what do you guys think of this footage? Leave your thoughts down below. This video has been floating around online for years. These guys are hanging around a campfire, casually talking, completely unaware that something terrifying is lurking in the shadows around their camp. For a brief moment, it shows up in the background of the video. And now we'll look at it zoomed in and brightened up a bit. The thing is only on screen for a brief moment. The legs are the most obvious part, but if you look closely enough, you can also make out the head and arms. Where exactly this footage was shot is still unknown. The creature ended up being dubbed the campfire creature. Some also think this is documented evidence of the new Louisiana swamp monster, a humanoid figure described as kind of skinwalker or alien-like. You'll know it from this infamous image here, captured on a deer hunter's camera in Berwick, Louisiana. And once again, we're in Brazil for this one. Lots of Brazil on this list. This video was uploaded to YouTube a couple years ago, showing what appears to be a UFO hovering over Curitiba, Brazil. It was posted to a channel that translates to unknown zone. The person who filmed it said they never really believed in UFOs before this. They spotted the object while driving on a Sunday, July 21st, 2024, and actually chased it as it moved in a straight line above the street. When the road ended at a railway line, they got out of the car to keep watching it. In the video's description, they wrote that at first they thought it was a drone, but there were no propellers. Then they thought maybe it was a balloon, but it was moving in a perfectly straight trajectory. And then something that looked like landing gear apparently appeared on it. What do you all think of this one? As always, let us know down below. This one comes out of Cathedral City, California in July 2018. A night security guard named Douglas Benfield, 48 at the time, was sitting at his monitor when things suddenly felt strange. He couldn't really explain it, he just got this odd feeling in the pit of his stomach. And that's when something caught his eye on one of the screens. A super bright object slowly rose from the construction site that he was guarding, hovering for a moment, and then shot off at insane speed. He rewound the footage immediately, and then again. He just couldn't make sense of it. He watched the footage over and over. He then did what most of us would do. He recorded the screen with his phone and texted the footage to his son. His son's response was simply, "WTF is that?" After that, Douglas didn't really show it to anyone. Life kind of got in the way, but when he came back across the clip later, he knew he couldn't just sit on it, so he shared it online, and it ended up on several articles and news sites. Pretty crazy footage. This strange image was snapped back on July 21st, 1967 by a teenage boy named Ronnie Hill in North Carolina. He was out in his family's garden when a strange smell hit him, bad enough to make his eyes water. He looked over toward a nearby field and saw a spherical white craft, roughly 9 feet in diameter, sitting on the ground. Then something stepped out from behind it. It had spindly thin legs, an oversized head, was wearing a shiny silver suit. It walked over, pushed some kind of black object into the ground, pulled it back out, returned to the ship, and left. The whole thing happened in complete silence, but during that time, Ronnie had managed to run inside, grab a portable Kodak camera, and come back out in time to photograph the creature while it was still there, standing about 15 feet away. Now, it's a pretty far-fetched story, to say the least, and looking at the photo, there are some issues. There's not much in the image we can use for scale. The image quality isn't great either, but there's still an image connected to the case, and that's more than can be said about a lot of alien reports that have gotten more attention than this. Ronnie's case never really went anywhere, but meanwhile, people with nothing but a story to tell have sold books, got movie deals, and built entire followings. In 2015, two people walking along a riverbank in a small Russian town came across this creepy alien-looking thing. At first, they thought it was maybe a mutant chicken embryo, but it wasn't. One researcher said, "It seems that this body is neither fish nor fowl. This creature has a mysterious skull, no neck, and wings." It was examined by experts at an institute of biophysics who couldn't identify it. Biologist Igor Zadarev said extensive studies are needed to determine what kind of creature or organism it is. The body was apparently sent to Moscow for further testing. Scott C. Waring of UFO Sightings Daily said his tiny alien body was found near a river in Russia and has no resemblance to any animal known. Russian scientists are confused for what it could be and said they need to wait for the results of the tests. What were the results of those tests, though? It was never reported. And just what in the hell is this abomination? This honestly may be one of the ugliest things I've ever seen doing videos like this. Back in 2015, a woman named Gianna Papansi posted the image to Facebook. She'd heard a scream outside her home in San Jose, California at around 11:30 at night. She went to check outside and she found it. Of course, she had no idea what it was, neither did anyone else. She wrote, "I wasn't gonna post this, but I can't stop trying to figure out WTF this thing is. I heard something scream at like 11:30 last night, went on my side yard and found this thing. It was dead when I found it." The post made its way to Reddit, shared with the caption, "Friend found this outside her house, WTF indeed." Some people went straight to the most obvious conclusion, saying it's clearly an alien. Others thought it could be a miscarried animal fetus, but nobody could say for sure which species. Nobody ever identified it, but there's another aspect to this case that makes it even more interesting. People have been seeing strange lights in the sky in the area around this time, so the alien rumor began getting a lot more traction. Rational explanation or not, though, that is not something I would ever want to find in my yard or anywhere for that matter. Back in 2022, a man was driving along a rural dirt road at night when his headlights hit something he'd never seen before, or thankfully since. At first he thought it was a person, but the closer it got to his headlights, the clearer he could make it out, and once it was fully illuminated, he knew this was not a person. The thing is pale, spindly, crawling on all fours. It also has no fur and doesn't seem to move like any known animal. Understandably, the guy threw the car in reverse and just backed the hell out of there. This has become one of the most famous cryptid alien videos on the internet. A few years back in La Junta, Colorado, a woman named Vivian Gomez noticed her porch camera had picked up something in the middle of the night. When she checked the footage the next morning, she was pretty confused by what she saw. There was some kind of figure wandering around her driveway. It didn't look human, at least not quite. It looked like some sort of alien-type creature, or a goblin, or a Dobby from Harry Potter. This thing has a lot of nicknames. Vivian threw the clip on Facebook, and it went absolutely nuts, over 10 million views in under a week. Before long, actual news crews were showing up at her door. She said when she showed her son the footage, they were both just standing there going, "What the heck is that?" She was not particularly scared by what it was, though she did quietly go fix her screen door afterward, just in case. The creature never showed up on camera again, though. To get a more expert take, reporters tracked down Chuck Zukowski, a UFO field investigator who's been looking into UFO sightings, Bigfoot encounters, and cattle mutilations for over 30 years. He's delivered hundreds of lectures on the subject and even has his own show on the Travel Channel, following him and his small crew as they investigate recent alien and creature sightings. On top of that, he's an engineer, so he approaches this stuff methodically, doing his best to find rational explanations before jumping to conclusions. Zukowski watched the La Junta footage and said it genuinely threw him off. "I'm watching it over and over again and I'm going, this doesn't make sense," he said. What caught his attention especially was the way the figure moved. "I've done enough investigations to know that aliens don't walk like us. Because the gait is off, the way the arms are swinging is off, that tells me, okay, that's a possibility, this could be good," end quote. He also said he understood why a lot of people were skeptical at the same time. As he put it, "What I try to do is I try to gather evidence and put the evidence out there, and it's for the viewers to decide." So, as always, what do you all think that this was? Now, if you've frequented the weird/paranormal side of the internet, you've likely seen this image here. It's pretty famous. The photo's been floating around since 1993. There are more images and a pretty interesting backstory too. So back in July of 1993, the Italian Air Force was alerted to an unidentified aircraft that had entered Italian airspace. An intercept wing was scrambled, made visual contact with the craft, and was given the green light to fire on it. Just before the missile reached its target, the pilots reported something strange. A ball of light appeared to separate from the main craft and fall away toward the ground. The primary craft, they said, was destroyed. Fragments of it rained down on the town of Abruzzi. That's where a man named Filberto Capone enters the story. When he stepped out of his home, he came face to face with this strange being right there at his door. Capone kept his cool long enough to grab his camera and photograph the thing. By the time he'd gone back in to put the camera away and returned outside, the creature was gone. Capone published the photographs in a local newspaper, and it wasn't long before the police came knocking and supposedly left with his photos. The newspaper refused to hand over their copies, thus why we still have some grainy images left over today. We hear a lot of alien abduction stories, but I can't think of any piece of footage that claims to show one actually being captured on camera, aside from this. In the security camera footage, we see a worker at a warehouse walk through a gate. It's 11:16 p.m. and I mention the exact time because it is important to the story. So as the guy steps to the other side of this gate, there's a sudden flash of light and the camera goes black. The cameras were out for just under 2 hours before the picture comes back. And then the man appears again. He crawls out of the shadows. He's now on all fours. He throws up and then stands back up, staggering around confused. So, of course, the question is, what happened in those 2 hours when the cameras were out? Was this an alien abduction caught on camera? Was it a hoax? Share your thoughts down below. See if you can spot a very small humanoid creature walking across the frame in this security camera footage. You see 2 little legs, a bit of the torso and head, but no arms. It's similar to the Fresno Nightcrawler, just scaled down. Interestingly though, this footage supposedly comes from Skinwalker Ranch, and if you know anything about Skinwalker Ranch, you know it's a hotspot for sightings just like this. Skinwalker Ranch, southeast of Ballard, Utah, has a genuinely strange reputation. When the Sherman family moved in during the early 90s, their cattle started turning up mutilated. Oddly, they seemed to have clean surgical cuts. Their dogs would also disappear. They reported UFOs hovering over the fields and strange orbs drifting around at night. Billionaire Robert Bigelow bought the place in 1996 and sent in a team of scientists to investigate. The ranch even ended up with its own show on the History Channel documenting all the weird stuff said to go on there. This creepy footage supposedly shows an alien entity being recovered from a crashed UFO in Brazil. I can't speak to the footage being genuine or not, but the thing does look pretty convincing. And there's a bigger story behind the footage, a pretty famous one at that. In Varginha, Brazil, on January 20th, 1996, at around 3:30 in the afternoon, 3 young women said they saw something crouching on the street. They described it as a humanoid creature with a large head, skin that looked like it had veins running through it, 3 bumps on top of its head, and bright red eyes. They said it looked weak, unsteady, like it might have been sick or injured. They ran off and told their mother that they'd just seen the devil. And after that, stories started spreading in the area about UFOs seen in the days before. And then more reports piled on top of that. Rumors about creatures being taken away by the military were rolling through the city. There were also multiple animal deaths at the local zoo. The Brazilian military investigated the whole thing, but of course, they denied anything extraterrestrial going on. Their conclusion was that the girls ran into a local man who was known to have mental disabilities, crouching near a wall, wet and dirty from the heavy rain. Did the girls just get spooked and let their imaginations get the best of them? Definitely possible, but what about the UFO reports and the animal deaths? Misidentifications and coincidences, or was there something stranger going on? Share your thoughts in the comments. This photograph was supposedly snapped in a rural village in Peru right around a time where some seriously strange things were being reported. This is the case of the face peelers. So in 2023, members of the Akitu tribe claimed they were being attacked by 7-foot-tall alien-like creatures they called Los Palicares, which translates to the face peelers. At one point, after one of these encounters, a teenage girl was taken to the hospital. One community leader said she barely escaped the attack, but ended up injured during the struggle, with part of her neck being cut. After the first reports, villagers said the incidents kept happening for weeks, starting around July 11th. The villagers claimed these beings would show up almost every night, described as having large heads and yellowish eyes. There were also reports that they were immune to hunting weapons, saying shots didn't seem to affect them. And not only that, they'd apparently float, hovering about a meter off the ground. The attacks died down soon after the military moved in to investigate. One theory is that these so-called face peelers, creepy name, were actually illegal jetpack-wearing gold miners trying to scare the tribe off. Even if that is the case, though, it still makes for one of the strangest UFO cases I've ever heard of. This creepy footage reportedly comes from a farmer in the United States. Been dealing with animal mutilations on his property, and when he heard his cows panicking one night, he armed himself and ran outside, only to capture this thing on camera, skulking around the edge of the property. Ran off at crazy speed before he could get a shot off. That's the story anyway. Is this footage pretty dubious? Admittedly, yes. But it's creepy looking regardless, and there are plenty of farmers, especially in the United States, with stories just like this, especially when it comes to strange cattle mutilations. In Compton, California, this piece of footage has become pretty famous too. A woman named Jessica Ortiz checked her Ring doorbell camera one night and did a complete double take. At around 1 a.m. on June 5th, 2025, the camera picked up this small, bizarre-looking figure moving across her driveway. It wasn't a dog, wasn't a cat, it wasn't any animal she could place, and it definitely was not a person. It moved fast, too, darting past the porch. A lot of people watching the footage have landed on the same word: alien. Ortiz was pretty shaken when she first saw it, genuinely questioning her own sanity for a moment, but she was not imagining things. The footage shows what it shows, and nobody's been able to explain it away. Her son took one look and immediately insisted that she call the police. She checked with her neighbors, and nobody had been out at the hour the footage was captured. Ortiz was also adamant the video was not staged or tampered with. What you see is genuinely what her camera captured. She's still not entirely sure what to make of it, but her take on the whole thing, she believes the universe is just too vast for humans to be the only sentient life in it. Hard to argue with that, really. Now, we've talked a lot about mysterious creatures on land, but let's not forget, the ocean covers over 70% of our planet, and the truth is, we've barely scratched the surface of what's down there. Countless species are still completely unknown to science, and sometimes one of them gets dragged up to the surface. That's exactly what happened to Roman Fedorstov, a Russian fisherman who's built up quite a following online for regularly sharing the weird things he pulls out of the sea. He's no stranger to bizarre catches, but even by his standards, this one was pretty freaky. What came up on his line was this dark gray slimy creature with a strange lump sitting on top of its body and what appeared to be a tail beneath it. The bulbous shape, it definitely makes it look less like a fish and more like something that crash landed from another planet. People online immediately started comparing it to the Martians from Mars Attacks. Others said it looked like something from an H.P. Lovecraft novel. Fedorstov thinks it was most likely a smooth toadfish from the Olympus family, native to the northern Pacific. The alien-like appearance probably down to decompression, so as the creature was hauled up from the deep, the change in pressure caused its body to swell up, giving it that bizarre, disfigured look. So yeah, there's a grounded explanation here, but it still goes to show how little we really know about the creature swimming around deep in the ocean. Now, when this footage first hit the internet, a lot of people wrote it off, because it's hard to actually see anything weird at first, but the more people studied the footage and dug into this case, the stranger it seemed. This one comes out of Las Vegas. On the night of April 30th, 2023, a bright green streak cut across the sky. More than 20 people across several states reported seeing the same thing that night. Shortly after, a man named Angel Kenmore called 911. He told the operator there was something in his backyard, a tall, skinny, greenish creature, somewhere between 8 and 10 feet tall, hiding behind equipment on his property. Before the police arrived, Kenmore and his family grabbed a camera and went out to investigate themselves. And looking really closely at the footage, people pointed out there does seem to be something really tall moving past the top of the fence there. Then a Reddit user named Matt73132 also posted this still. Claim is that this is a second creature lurking further into the backyard. It's hard to make out, but zooming in, and yeah, that looks a lot like an alien face to me. A crime scene reconstruction analyst named Scott Roeder also decided to go through the footage frame by frame. He said he identified at least 2 separate beings in the video. We've had a lot of your classic grays in this video series. I believe this is the first piece of reptilian footage. I'll get more into reptilians in a sec, but first, let's check this video out. Story goes, the video was filmed by an elderly woman years ago after she started noticing strange things happening around her property. Livestock was going missing, pets were disappearing, things she couldn't really explain either. Supposedly, she'd also seen something she described as a very tall lizard man skulking around, sometimes slipping in through a ditch near the edge of the property. After telling her son about it, he told her to start recording if it ever showed up again. So one day, when she noticed movement outside, she grabbed her camera and filmed what she saw. In the footage, you do see this tall humanoid figure with a lizard-like appearance. The video was captured before AI-generated video became a thing. It doesn't look like CGI to me either. Not saying that proves the video is genuine. I mean, this could totally be a dude in a suit, but hey, these days, that level of effort, it goes a long way for me. But I used the word reptilian before. I'm gonna guess most of you watching are familiar with the term in the context of extraterrestrial lore, but for those not in the know, reptilians are basically described in UFO lore as tall humanoid beings with, you guessed it, a reptile look to them. They're usually framed as intelligent beings that have actually been living on Earth for a long time, but know how to stay hidden. That's where you get claims about them disguising themselves as powerful politicians or celebrities. And finally, these photos are pretty well known and cryptid in UFO circles. And sure, at first glance, kind of just looks like someone wandering around wrapped in aluminum foil, but it's the story behind the pictures that's kept people talking for decades. So on October 17th, 1973, Police Chief Jeff Greenhaw responded to a report of a possible spaceship landing in a field near Falkville, Alabama. And he wasn't someone who really believed in this sort of thing, but when he arrived at the scene, he described seeing something he just couldn't wrap his head around. According to Greenhaw, there was this strange human-like figure covered in a thick, shiny material that reminded him of aluminum foil. It had a smooth, reflective surface that almost seemed to glow in the light. Its body looked unusual, too. There didn't seem to be a distinct neck. The head appeared to blend straight into the shoulders, and he noticed what looked like an antenna sticking out from the top of its head. What really unsettled him, though, was the way it moved. Greenhaw said it didn't walk like a person. Its movements were stiff and jerky, almost mechanical, like it was trying to copy human movement without quite getting it right. And then it suddenly sped away at incredible speed, covering a huge distance in just a few seconds. Greenhaw jumped into his vehicle and chased after it, but somehow he couldn't catch up. Before it disappeared, he managed to take the Polaroid photos that would later become famous, though. The pictures themselves didn't really do much to convince skeptics. If anything, they gave people even more reason to dismiss the story. To say Greenhaw was ridiculed for his account would be an understatement. Within a few months, he'd lost his job and his marriage, and his house also burned down, just the cherry on top. If the whole thing really was a hoax, it certainly didn't bring him any obvious benefit. This UFO footage from Turkey is still regarded as one of the best ever filmed. Some say you can actually spot alien entities peering out of the windows of the craft. It was filmed flying over the skies of Kumburgaz, Turkey by a night security guard named Yalçın Yalman. He started noticing strange stuff in 2007 while working shifts by the Sea of Marmara. After spotting these strange lights in the sky on multiple nights, he decided to just buy a video camera and start recording to try and capture what was going on. And between 2007 and 2009, he caught these round, oval, and sometimes triangular objects hovering in the night sky. The footage got shared online, and UFO researchers took notice pretty quickly. A local UFO group looked at it and said the objects could not be explained as birds, planes, satellites, or weather phenomenon. Yalman went on TV, spoke at events about what he saw. He never claimed to know what it was, just that his footage was genuine and that he had no explanation for it. This video was being talked about all over the weird and paranormal side of the internet back in the summer of 2016. Apparently it was filmed somewhere in Portugal. This freaky humanoid figure with super long arms trudges across the sand before disappearing behind a bush. This one could definitely be faked, sure, but if we do entertain the possibility, looks to be a cross between a Sasquatch and a Chupacabra. Pretty creepy. Now, what are we looking at here? Your guess is probably as good as mine. The person who uploaded the video wasn't sure what they were seeing either. Reddit user jturley85 shared the footage and explained his wife's coworker had gone hunting in the mountains with a pack of dogs. At some point, two of the dogs ran off. After searching for them, they were found torn apart. While trying to figure out what had done it, they spotted this strange figure in the distance and recorded it through a rifle scope. Later tried enhancing the footage to get a clearer look, but this was the best they could manage. Some commenters have pointed out that the figure appears to have unusually long, thin arms. There seems to be something hanging off them that almost looks like hair. The uploader considered the possibility that it was just another hunter, but wasn't exactly confident about that explanation. On its own, the footage is odd enough, but when you add the story about the dogs being found dead nearby, it definitely makes whatever was lurking out there feel a lot more unsettling. These photos were originally posted to Reddit by user Perplexed Seal during an AMA discussion about skinwalkers. Along with the images, they shared a story about something they and their friends claimed to have seen one evening. The Redditor was sitting around a fire with friends, the sun was setting, and they were gathered near a dense wooded area. Looking out toward a field beside the tree line, they noticed this tall white figure in the distance. It wasn't especially close, but they said it immediately felt like it was watching them. Where they sat, it appeared to be either swaying back and forth or slowly moving in their direction. Perplexed Seal said the sight gave them such a bad feeling, they almost felt sick. While they were watching it, another friend turned on their car. At that moment, the figure stood upright on two legs, looked to be about 6 or 7 feet tall, then it ducked behind a bush. Spooked by what they'd just seen, Perplexed Seal decided to leave. The friend stayed behind and later reported seeing the figure again, running extremely fast in circles around the field before disappearing into the trees. Now, are celebrities and the super rich secretly reptilian beings hiding among us? Some people certainly think so. One of the most common pieces of evidence brought up by believers is footage where someone's eyes appear to change shape for a split second. There are tons of videos like this online, but let's start with this clip of Justin Bieber. Notice how his eyes look completely normal at first, but then they look all weird, looking to be partially covered by a semi-translucent layer. People who are into the reptilian invader conspiracies have compared this to the kind of membrane some reptiles have that can slide over the eye while still letting them see. Celebrities and politicians are usually at the center of these claims. The idea is basically that if shape-shifting reptilians were real, they'd be most useful in places with power and influence. Here's another example, this interview footage of Nicki Minaj. For a split second, her pupils shift from round to a vertical slit before going back to normal almost immediately. What do you think? Is this just a case of the camera causing little visual glitches, or are there lizard people subtly controlling everything from politics to entertainment? This first video comes from a farmer in Mexico. He'd been seeing odd lights in the sky close to his property, but one night he heard rustling in the bushes outside. When he went down to investigate, he captured this on camera. It's this humanoid figure in a silver jumpsuit. After that one retreats to the shadows, he spots another too. He keeps calling out to the silver-suited figures, asking who they are. But when he runs up to get a closer look, they just vanish into the brush. And this was just one video from this farmer. Over a 4-year period, he captured more mysterious figures on camera, as well as odd lights in the sky. And here's another video captured by this farmer and one of his friends. This time, more than one of these odd entities shows up on camera at the same time. They'd heard strange sounds in the sky, a low humming noise, so they stepped outside to see what was up, and that's when they apparently saw 3 orbs crash into a field. When they went out to investigate, they spotted these 2 things standing in a shallow dip in the ground. What some alien fanatics have pointed out in the comments is that the beings resemble descriptions of alien entities known as archons. In modern alien conspiracy theories, archons are usually described as tall humanoids with smooth blue skin. The farmer said these things were roughly 6 to 7 feet tall. So what do you make of these videos though? Share your thoughts down in the comments. Now, supposedly, this black and white footage was captured at the site of the Roswell crash but was kept secret until it was leaked about 8 years ago. We see footage of an alien entity lying in the sand, the assumption being it was injured in the crash, and we also see a group of alien entities in black jumpsuits walking about. It's some pretty outlandish video, and I gotta be honest and say I think there's a good chance this is fake, but at the same time, who's to say for sure? Why wouldn't the footage be pulled from the internet if they wanted it kept secret though? Well, maybe they figured people would just find it ridiculous and not believe it. Taking the footage down would just make people more suspicious than it would if they just let it sit on YouTube. I don't know, just throwing out some ideas here. This next video was apparently captured somewhere in the Havari Valley in Brazil back in 2022. Locals chased this large creature out of their village, which retreated into the trees, and then it vanished, at least partially. The villagers looked up to see this shape moving through the trees, and the best way I can describe it is it looks cloaked, a bit like the alien creature in Predator. If you've been watching the other videos in this series though, you know how often Brazil has come up. Not really sure what it is about this country, but it seems to be a hotbed for alien activity. If you gave me 5 seconds to draw an extraterrestrial, it'd pretty much look exactly like this. Imagine hiking through the forests of Thailand when you notice something staring back at you from the darkness of a cave. That's exactly what one hiker claimed happened after spotting what looked like a strange face peeking out from the entrance. And it was so far away, he couldn't really tell what he was looking at, so he pulled out his camera and zoomed in. The figure looked eerily similar to your classic gray alien that's been reported in UFO stories for decades. Oversized bald head, large dark eyes, and of course, pale gray skin. This next clip is said to have been leaked from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and supposedly dates back to 1995. Patterson Air Force Base has been tied to UFO rumors for years. So we see these tall humanoid figures walking across an open field. They're moving around slowly, almost casually. There's also what looks like security personnel walking among them. Now, a ton of stories surrounding this base trace back to Roswell in 1947. With the claim being that whatever crashed there got hauled off to Wright-Patterson for the military to pick apart and study. Some also say there are secret hangars or underground areas where they're supposedly keeping recovered craft as well as alien beings. The base also gets tied into Project Blue Book, which was a real Air Force program that looked into UFO sightings from 1952 until it got shut down in 1969. But there's been a theory floating around ever since the program shut down. The Blue Book was just the public-facing show, for lack of a better term. A part the government let everyone see, while the real investigation kept going behind the scenes under different names after it officially ended. Now this is a very bizarre clip, comes out of southern Venezuela. On a hillside, there's some sort of animal moving on all fours. It's hard to get a clear read on it, but it looks dark, hairy, and low to the ground. It moves slowly across the slope, almost like it's searching or pacing without a clear direction. But that's not even the weirdest part, because right next to it, there's a second shape. It looks like a floating object hovering close to the ground, slowly spinning in place. The surface is highly reflective. Now the video's been shared around a lot, so I couldn't find the original upload, but the description in almost every version reads something like this. Video of an interdimensional being with a strange animal has been captured in a village in southern Venezuela. So make of that what you will, I guess. What are your thoughts on this one though? Let us know down below.